Gun control is all in the news lately thanks to the Christchurch massacre. What's the history of gun control in the U.S. and who is supporting it today? What's in the news with stories on vice cops screwed, collateral damage, dead by drug war, indoctrination center shooting, more collateral damage, and space farce update. And an Ask Me Anything segment on my fat ass, waving a magic wand, and ending the federal government. This episode is brought to you by NordVPN, the easiest, cheapest, and fastest way to get secure and private access to the internet that I've ever seen, and I use it every single day. Also brought to you by Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom, helping you to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before, for just 24 cents a day.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the 48th safest state with the lowest murder rate in the country, according to CultureHook.com, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at the Lava Flow Pod. This is episode 125, Gun Control, and it's Tuesday, March 26, 2019, when there have already been more than 221 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $22,148,160 million in debt. What's wrestling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. Since I'm currently in the market for a new Remington 870 tactical 12-gauge shotgun, it's made me think about gun control. And with all of the nonsense going on after the horrific Christchurch massacre, I thought it was a good time to talk about it. But first, before we get started, let's talk about what the gun grabbers want, because it's not to control your guns, no matter what they say. That's only a way for them to get what they want, their final solution, to borrow a term. Now, I'm not crazy enough to believe that they specifically want us disarmed so that we will not fight back when they ask us to get into the train cars. Yet. But I do believe that they want us to be docile and not be able to fight back when they implement more mundane but insane policies such as single-payer healthcare, sweeping climate change, anti-free market legislation, and so much more. But as a byproduct, we would have no teeth to stop being put into the train cars, if it ever did come to that. And it certainly could. Fortunately, there are a lot of privately owned guns in America. Some estimates put the number of guns in America as larger than the number of people in America. A July 2018 report from Small Arms Survey says there are 393 million guns in this country. That's 1.2 guns per person. That is the highest in the world, with Yemen coming in second at half a gun per person. Now that's the good news. If there ever were sweeping gun control in this country, they would never be able to get them all, even if people stood down like sheep and let them be taken. Hell, this reminds me of the meme that goes around that says something along the lines of, if you have 7 guns and the government takes away 7, how many guns do you have left? 26. I have 26 guns left. I lied about the 7. And that's about right. I mean, I've got so many guns that I'm not even sure I could find them all. I still have a couple in safe places back in Arkansas. Not even my wife knows the location of all of my guns, and that's how it should be. I am not going to be a sheep, and I certainly won't be a victim or a statistic. The history of gun control is modern, for the most part. With the exception of the Black Codes in 1865 and 66, the vast majority of gun control has happened this century. The first piece of national gun control legislation was passed on June 26, 1934. The National Firearms Act, the NFA, part of President Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal for Crime, was meant to curtail gangland crimes of that era, such as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. The NFA imposed a tax on the manufacturing, selling, and transporting of firearms listed in the law. Among those were short-barreled shotguns and rifles, machine guns, firearms mufflers, and silencers. Things got much more draconian in 1938 when the Federal Firearms Act, the FFA of 1938, required gun manufacturers, importers, and dealers to obtain a federal firearms license. It also defined a group of people, including convicted felons, who could not purchase guns, and mandated that gun sellers keep customer records. The FFA was repealed in 1968 by the Gun Control Act, though many of the FFA's provisions were reenacted by the GCA. And things only got crazier after that. And of course, the Dems call for more gun control every time there's a mass shooting in a gun-free zone. Hell, even Trump jumped on the bandwagon with his upcoming bump stock ban. That ban will begin the day that this show comes out, Tuesday, March 26th, unless a court intervenes, which is not likely at this point. And this ban is retroactive, meaning that if you own one of these, you will have to either turn it in or destroy it by today. This affects over 500,000 devices that people paid their very own money for that will now have to be destroyed or given away for free. Possession of a bump stock, like the possession of a machine gun, will be punishable by fines and up to 10 years in prison. Yes, tell yourself that you're not a slave. And the crazy thing is that this ban came about not due to new legislation, not due to our supposed representatives creating a new law, but an unelected bureaucracy, the Justice Department, essentially redefining current law without any legislative control. This is just a new example of Lysander Spooner being right when he said, "But whether the Constitution really be one thing or another, this much is certain. It has either authorized such a government as we have had or has been powerless to prevent it. In either case, it is unfit to exist." When laws can be changed without a vote of the people who are supposedly representing us, then things are out of control. And it has been that way for a long time in this country. And of course, after the Christchurch shootings in New Zealand, they are now calling for more gun control in that country. Now, compared to the United States, New Zealand already has fairly strict gun control laws. To get a gun in New Zealand, for example, applicants must first pass a background check that considers criminal, medical, mental health, and domestic violence records, provide character references, subject themselves to government interviews, pass a home security inspection, take a gun safety course, and then wait weeks or even months for firearms license approval. On March 21st, the New Zealand government issued an order in council that immediately reclassified certain commonly owned semi-automatic firearms as military-style semi-automatics, or MSSAs. The order redefined MSSAs in statute to include the following. A semi-automatic firearm that is capable of being used in combination with a detachable magazine, other than one designed to hold .22-inch or less rimfire cartridges, that is capable of holding more than 5 cartridges. B. A semi-automatic firearm that is a shotgun and that is capable of being used in combination with a detachable magazine that is capable of holding more than 5 cartridges. However, even this ridiculousness is only a temporary measure. In a statement to the public, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern made clear that the orders in council were a transitional measure until a wider ban takes effect, and further legislation is still being drafted. Ardern noted that there will be a ban on all military-style semi-automatic and assault rifles in New Zealand. Going further, she noted that related parts used to convert these guns into MSSAs are also being banned, along with all high-capacity magazines. Now, I believe it is of the utmost importance for all freedom-loving Americans to pay close attention to the figures in this country that are cheering these radical confiscation policies. Failed 2016 Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton tweeted her support for Ardern's confiscation measures, stating, "Under her leadership, New Zealand has banned assault rifles and military-style semi-automatic weapons just 6 days after the Christchurch mosque attacks. Public servants didn't stop at offering thoughts and prayers, they chose to act." And in 2015, Clinton expressed her support for Australian-style gun confiscation. Democratic presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders from Vermont stated via Twitter, "This is what real action to stop gun violence looks like. We must follow New Zealand's lead, take on the NRA, and ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons in the United States." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "Christchurch happened, and within days, New Zealand acted to get weapons of war out of the consumer market. This is what leadership looks like," as if she would know anything about that. But could this happen here? Absolutely it could. Will it happen here? I don't know. But what I do know is that is why no one knows how many guns I own or where they're all located. Call me crazy. Call me paranoid. But one thing you will never be able to call me is a sheep. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
And nothing new here. After a series of scandals and investigations, Columbus, Ohio is disbanding its police department's unit that was supposed to focus on moral crimes. Columbus's Vice unit has been subject to internal and FBI investigations and came under scrutiny last year when Vice officers arrested adult film actress Stormy Daniels at a strip club. More recently, charges were brought against Columbus Vice Squad officer Andrew Mitchell, 55, alleging that he forced 2 women to have sex with them under threat of an arrest. Interim Columbus Police Chief Thomas Quinlan announced the closing of the Vice unit Tuesday on Twitter, saying the remaining officers will be assigned to other departments. 3 of the Vice unit's 10 officers are currently under suspension. Quinlan said that Vice-related crimes, now under the Narcotics Division, will be handled differently and with a more community-based approach. Community-based approach, right. I guarantee they will continue to lock up people for victimless crimes. Mitchell was charged with witness tampering, obstruction of justice, making a false statement to federal investigators, and deprivation of rights under color of law, the language used to describe crimes committed by police officers while on duty. Mitchell has also been investigated by state authorities after police said that he fatally shot a female sex worker who stabbed him in the hand while sitting in his unmarked police car. I wonder what they were doing. So here's a cop who's supposed to be protecting us from the moral ravages of prostitution, and he is slaying prostitutes that he was trying to get it on with. Go figure. In collateral damage news, U.S. airstrikes are killing civilians in Somalia, a new Amnesty International report says, refuting the Pentagon's repeated statements that no civilians have died, even as U.S. attacks have at least tripled under the Trump administration. Amnesty's report details 5 airstrikes that resulted in the deaths of 14 people. The group's forensic investigation found substantial evidence that suggests American airstrikes are responsible for deaths in 4 of these cases, and very likely the 5th as well. Hina Shamsi, director of the American Civil Liberties Union's National Security Project, said, "This is a detailed, credible, and deeply disturbing report. Despite very challenging investigative conditions, Amnesty provides strong evidence that the Trump administration's claim of 0 civilian casualties simply cannot be believed." Loosening rules of engagement have allowed for mistakes and misidentification that end in fatal attacks, the report concludes. Amnesty says indiscriminate aspects of the military's tactics may mean that some attacks could constitute war crimes, even though the U.S. has technically not declared war on Somalia. Indeed, when asked if the U.S. is at war in Somalia, General Thomas D. Waldhauser, the commander of AFRICOM, Africa Command, which oversees U.S. military activity in Africa, said during a congressional hearing earlier this month, "I wouldn't characterize that we're at war. It's specifically designed for us not to own that." Well, at least he's being honest. Amnesty contends that U.S. behavior makes it a clear party to non-international armed conflict, and as such, the laws of war would apply. At least 76 other strikes were carried out over the period Amnesty researched, indicating that the civilian death toll could be much higher, the group says. And of course, the U.S. is saying that it's all a load of horseshit. AFRICOM disavows all of these findings. And of course they would. They have to cover up their mistakes. Are you looking for a way to protect your online presence quickly, easily, and inexpensively while still surfing the net with high speed? Well, NordVPN is the best way that I've ever found to do just that. With over 2,500 servers worldwide, they cover every continent except Antarctica. But, as they say, that's only because penguins just don't get the internet. They also offer double data encryption, which encrypts data not once, but twice. And they never log what you do and where you go on the internet. Also, NordVPN is fast, the fastest VPN service that I've ever used. They have apps for Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android, so you can protect all of your traffic from all of your devices with NordVPN. Starting as low as $3.29 per month, they're also inexpensive, and they take Bitcoin too. With NordVPN, you can securely access any website from anywhere around the world, safely share files via P2P networks, and enjoy the fastest VPN experience without compromising your online security and privacy. Get signed up for the VPN service that I personally use every time I hit the internet at thelavaflow.com/VPN. Again, that's thelavaflow.com/VPN. In drug war news, Pennsylvania State Police acted recklessly when troopers used a bulldozer to pursue a Grateful Dead fan caught growing marijuana on public land, killing him when he wound up under the machine's treads, according to a civil rights lawsuit filed on Monday. Greg Longnecker's family said that state police had no business chasing him with a dangerous piece of machinery, especially over a few pot plants the 51-year-old was cultivating for personal use. His death last July in a rural area about 75 miles outside of Philadelphia also provoked outrage from a marijuana advocacy group. Longnecker's uncle, Mike Carpenter, who's named as a plaintiff in the federal suit, said, "They killed a beautiful human being, a caring, loving man. He'll never be able to share his life with us or us with him again. For no reason. He wasn't hurting anyone." State police declined comment, of course. A prosecutor who investigated Longnecker's death concluded that troopers acted reasonably. Well, of course he did. However, an expert in police procedure agreed the state police overreacted. Walter Signorelli, a lawyer and retired New York Police Department commander who has overseen investigations and police pursuits, said, "It's outlandish. This is the craziest thing I've heard in years. It seems like they were more concerned with the chase than the danger to themselves and the public and the guy they were chasing." The chase developed as Longnecker, a short-order cook and avid vegetable gardener with a passion for the Grateful Dead, and his friend David B. Light tended 10 marijuana plants in a small clearing on state game lands near Reading, Pennsylvania. A Pennsylvania game commissioner worker operating a bulldozer in the area spotted their car parked in a field where vehicles weren't allowed and called police. Light surrendered, but Longnecker fled, disappearing into the thick vegetation. State police began a lengthy search. A state police helicopter spotted Longnecker in the underbrush, and the game commission worker, with a trooper aboard, used the bulldozer to blaze a trail in pursuit. How Longnecker got caught in the machine's treads is hotly disputed. Authorities concluded he was high on methamphetamine, crawled under the back of the bulldozer in an attempt to elude capture, and was crushed to death when it made a left turn. Longmaker's friends and family call that explanation ludicrous. Look, these cops wanted their pound of flesh because Longnecker dared run from their authority, and they got their pound of flesh. I hope this lawsuit brings some financial relief to the family. And fuck the Pennsylvania State Police in the neck with a bulldozer. In Indoctrination Center news, during active shooter training, some Indiana teachers were shot execution-style with projectiles that caused welts and blood, according to the Indiana State Teachers Association, the ISTA. The ISTA addressed their concerns about these drills in a series of tweets on Wednesday as members of the association testified in front of the Senate Education Committee. They said, "The teachers were terrified, but were told not to tell anyone what happened. Teachers waiting outside that heard the screaming were brought into the room 4 at a time, and the shooting process was repeated." Other teachers allegedly listened to their colleagues' screams while they waited for their turn to be brought into the room in groups. 2 anonymous teachers in Monticello confirmed the incident, recalling how they were told to kneel against a wall with no warning of what would come next. One of the teachers said, "They told us this is what happens if you just cower and do nothing. They shot all of us across our backs. I was hit 4 times. It hurt so bad." White County Sheriff Bill Brooks, whose department headed the January drill, said that as soon as they learned a teacher was upset by the practice, they stopped using the airsoft guns. I mean, what the actual fuck? This is insanity. If you're going to use airsoft guns, first of all, let somebody know about it. Secondly, make sure the teachers are wearing protection from these things. They hurt like a motherfucker, and you can easily put an eye out with one. This is insane. Guys, you know Tom Woods. You know his books. You know his podcast. Now learn what he learned to get where he is today in Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom. Get the equivalent of a PhD in libertarian thought and free market economics online for just 24 cents a day while sitting at your computer or driving in your car. You can get it now at thelavaflow.com/woods. Listening to the audios and watching the videos will load you up with the facts, figures, and other ammunition that you need to feel supremely confident and come out on top when arguing politics or economics with yet another devoted socialist or neoconservative. But I repeat myself. Get a yearly membership to Tom Woods' Liberty Classroom for only $89 a year. Or like me, go for the Masterclass for lifetime access for only $497 and get tons of bonus material as well, including monthly live sessions with Liberty Classroom faculty and 435 audio-video lessons on government and history that Tom created specifically for the Ron Paul curriculum worth $250 alone. Make sure to sign up today at thelavaflow.com/woods to become a smarter and more informed libertarian than ever before. In more collateral damage news, an appeal has begun in the case of 3 Yemenis suing the German government for complicity in the deaths of family members killed in U.S. drone strikes. Ramstein Air Base in Germany is integral to the U.S. drone program. In his opening statement Thursday, the presiding judge, Wolf Sarnighausen, said the higher administrative court in Munster was faced with a daunting and massive task, one that neither the German Constitutional Court nor the Federal Administrative Court had yet tackled. The case of Ben Ali Jabber versus Germany, which opened today, seeks to force the German government to admit shared responsibility in the killing of 2 of the plaintiff's family members in Yemen in 2012. Furthermore, the plaintiffs are calling on Germany to prohibit the United States from using its Ramstein Air Base in its global drone war. Judge Sarnighausen said that his court will be tasked with determining Germany's role in specific human rights and constitutional issues. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism, TBIJ, a London-based non-profit news organization, has regularly tabulated the human cost of the program in the country. TBIJ says that the U.S. has carried out at least 329 confirmed strikes in Yemen. The total number of individuals killed in those strikes, according to TBIJ, is between 1,020 and 1,384. Between 174 and 225 of those killed were civilians, and between 44 and 50 were children. Children, for fuck's sake. I swear to Rothbard, the quickest way to make me become a terrorist is to drone bomb my fucking children. In Space Farce news, defense officials have asked for $304 million to fund research into space-based lasers, particle beams, and other new forms of missile defense next year. Defense officials want to test a neutral particle beam in orbit in fiscal 2023 as part of a ramped-up effort to explore various types of space-based weaponry. They've asked for $304 million in the 2020 budget to develop such beams, more powerful lasers, and other new tech for next-generation missile defense. Such weapons are needed, they say, to counter new missiles from China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. But just figuring out what might work is a difficult technical challenge. So the Pentagon is undertaking 2 studies. The first is a $15 million exploration of whether satellites outfitted with lasers might be able to disable enemy missiles coming off the launch pad. Defense officials have said previously that these lasers would need to be in the megawatt class. They expect to finish this study within 6 months. They're also pouring money into a study of space-based neutral particle beams, a different form of directed energy that disrupts missiles with streams of subatomic particles traveling close to light speed, as opposed to lasers whose photons travel at light speed. Kingston Reef, who directs disarmament and threat reduction policies at the Arms Control Association, said, "The deployment of interceptors in space would be a disaster for strategic stability. To ensure the credibility of their nuclear deterrents, Russia and China would likely respond by building additional and new types of long-range ballistic missiles, as well as missiles that fly on non-ballistic trajectories. Russia and China could also take steps to improve their ability to destroy such U.S. interceptors, thereby greatly increasing the threat to U.S. assets in space." And of course it would. I mean, we're talking about an entire new arms race in neutral territory. This could quickly take us right back into a brand new Cold War. That's just what we need on this fucking planet. Have you subscribed to the Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email ama@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
It's that time again. I'm going to answer your questions. Remember, you can ask me your question by adding it to the thread that I post in the Pax Libertas Productions Podcast Fans Facebook group or by emailing me at ama@thelavaflow.com. Or if you are awesome as fuck and you support this show, you can ask me your question in the Lava Flow Super Supporters Facebook group or in Patreon. So let's jump right into the questions. First, my very good friend and show supporter Daryl W. Perry never lets me down. He has a couple of questions for me. Question number 1 is, how is your weight loss coming along? Well, Daryl, fuck you in the neck very much for asking me a question like that, especially when you just saw my fat ass at Liberty Forum last month. As you know, it's not going very well. I've gained a lot, most of my weight back over the winter, being a lazy fuck who ate everything that wasn't tied down. But I just signed up for DDP yoga, and I'm starting to get outside to do more physical work around our little homestead. So that trend will hopefully be reversing soon. Daryl's next question is, will you review Behind the Curve? Okay, so I admit, I watched this with my boys so that we could laugh at the flat earthers. But no, I'm not going to review it. It's not really worth reviewing at all. And finally, Daryl hits a home run with a silly-ass question that I love. Alternate history time. If you could prevent only one of the following from happening, which one would it be, and why? Also, how would the world be different today if you were able to stop that thing from happening? 1. William the Conqueror invading England. 2. The burning of the Library of Alexandria. And 3. Ratification of the Constitution of the United States of America. I know most of you are probably going to think that I would choose 3, the ratification of the Constitution, but I would pick the burning of the Library of Alexandria, hands down. I believe wholeheartedly that we lost so much knowledge in that single incident, and that set humanity's progression back for centuries. I truly believe we would be a multiplanetary species by now if we had not lost all of that knowledge. I further believe that the Dark Ages would not have been as dark if that knowledge had been preserved. While I know that there was advancement during the Dark Ages, it was certainly stagnated by that huge loss of knowledge. Daryl, great questions, and thank you so much for not disappointing as usual. The next question comes from a supporter of the show, a very good friend, and a fellow free coaster, Link W, and she asks, if you could wave a magic wand and change one thing about the world, but it couldn't directly have anything to do with political systems, acts of the state, or people's opinions about them, what would it be? Now that's a tough question. I had to noodle this one for quite a while, and the best thing I could come up with would be to give everyone a perfect understanding of the non-aggression principle. Since this principle applies not only to the state, but to all human interactions, I think this is the number one thing for people to grasp. This would set us all free. It's a rare person who gets a true understanding of this principle and turns her back on it. Yes, it does happen, but not very often in my experience. But even with that understanding, there would still be people who would aggress against others, I get that, but far fewer would, and many more would help us pick up this mantle to apply this principle to all human interaction, including to government. Thanks for the question, Link. And finally, supporter and good friend Mark Clare, host of the Lions of Liberty podcast, asks, aliens arrive on Earth and grant Roger Paxton the power to dissolve the federal government, with the exception that you must choose one federal agency to keep in place. 1. Do you take this deal? And 2. If so, what agency do you allow to live? Well, shit, this is easy. Of course, I take the deal, no question. But since you said agency and not a department, I can go as low as the White House Visitor's Office Agency, which is a part of the Office of Management Administration. They could turn the White House into a museum of failed human policy, similar to the Holocaust Museum. Or I could choose the Library of Congress, or something else just as benign. But to take the spirit of your question and not the letter, the department that I would keep open would be the Department of the Interior. The reason for this is simple. Their main duty is to take care of federal lands, and since the federal government is now dissolved thanks to my alien friends, they would literally have nothing to do, since there would be no organization to own the lands. Problem solved. But good trying to trick me, Mark. That's all the questions I have time for this week, my friends. Thank you so much for all the questions. I've got several more questions in my queue, and I will get to them soon, I promise. And keep those questions coming. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite plant nutritionist, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on this show, go to thelavaflow.com/125. I don't have any new subscribers this week, but thanks to all of my awesome supporters, I am at $258.75 per episode, or 51.75% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all of your support, guys. Really, it means so much to me. Remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to bring it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting right now. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon, or monthly using Subscribestar, or using cryptocurrencies through Bitbacker. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I also don't have any new Apple Podcast reviews this week, but if you have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.